What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square with Chasing Cinema.
Mr. James Hsu.com.
And there's only about 6 or 7 of these movies that get to happen when it's the big, exciting movie, and today is one of those days.
Packed house here at AMC Town Square for our Marvel movie, well, our second Marvel movie, kind of the year. We had a great start with Deadpool, movies that me and you both liked, but we didn't absolutely love like everyone else did. We had a pretty much, I think we could say, a letdown with BVS, and now we have another movie that operates based off two superhumans fighting and battling out. Two good guys. So I'm hoping Captain America Civil War pleases all my needs that Batman vs Superman didn't. What are you going in expecting? I know last week we talked about it. Also tell me, what team are you assembling on?
Team Cap 100%, and I'm jacked up for it because it's the same directors of Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And Winter Soldier is my favorite Marvel film of the series, of the 12 or however many there are. And so when I first saw Winter Soldier, the fighting and the way they did it, I loved it. So we got Joe and Anthony Russo back again for Civil War.
Yes.
And I'm all Team Cap.
Team Cap. Yes.
And I'm pumped up.
And I'm gonna be Team Iron Man, of course, because you know I like the billionaire superheroes. I do, and you know, I think, you know, I've always preferred the Iron Man movies, but Captain America has done a really great job at probably being the most consistent, solid films that Marvel has done. You know, Iron Man definitely, there's that series fluctuated a lot, but you know, unlike you guys, I really loved Iron Man 3, and easily one of my favorite Marvel movies they've made so far. Not many people would disagree with me, but not many people would agree with me. But I just had a lot of fun in that movie. Avengers was great, but last
year, Age of Ultron though was a letdown.
Age of Ultron. I can't even remember Age of Ultron. Like, I can't remember. I remember doing the screening, and it just kind of was like a blur. Like, it did not leave an impact on me whatsoever. However, Ant-Man, I did enjoy. Like, I thought Ant-Man was a really fun movie. That was funny. I thought that it had a lot of comedy towards it. It definitely, but it didn't feel necessarily like a Marvel film. It felt like kind of a branch off. And as fun as it was, I'm still desperately wanting a really great superhero movie.
Well, hopefully we get that with Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War.
Yes.
How long is the movie tonight?
It's maybe about 2.5 hours, so we have a lot going on.
Like
very
BVS,
similar to Batman.
it's a longer film.
It's a longer film. They have a lot to put in there. I'm sure if you've not seen the trailer, there are a lot of new faces semi-new faces coming on. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these characters and seeing how the presence is.
Okay, well,
are you ready?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready to see Captain America kick some butt.
I don't know if you're ready. Well, Team Iron Man is gonna kick a butt.
All right,
let's do it.
All right, so we just got out of Captain America Civil War.
Wrong movie, but you know.
But you get the point. Now,
you get it.
In this first part, there will be no spoilers.
No spoilers.
In the video, you'll see spoilers appear, and then you'll know when to stop.
We'll let you know. We'll give you a warning.
So I'll first start out that 2.5 hours.
If it's on the trailers, it's not a spoiler, though.
Yep. You know, I can't lie. The movie was just amazing. Like, jeez.
You scared me for a second.
That movie was so freaking amazing, and I'm genuinely sad though. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Batman v Superman. These two characters to go head to head. In this movie, more of a team versus team, and then head to head. But overall, Captain America Civil War was absolutely fantastic. That movie is now, I'm just gonna say, my favorite Marvel film, for sure. And I'm gonna very sadly say, potentially, I had to see it a couple more times. Let me see it 7-8 times. But potentially, probably my favorite comic book film of all time.
Wow.
Like, I thought that movie was so freaking amazing. And if anyone doesn't know anything about Black Panther like I don't, you're gonna come into this movie and your new favorite character is going to literally be Black Panther.
Yeah.
That guy is BA. That guy don't take crap from anyone. That guy is so I don't know how true this is because I don't follow the comics so much, but I was told that Black Panther was made because of to be Marvel's Batman. I don't know how true that was. I could look it up, but I just don't care either. But I can see similarities. They're both rich and
Yeah.
And woo, dude, that guy, Chadwick Boseman,
Yes.
is gonna be getting, as long as he wants to do them, he's gonna be in the part. He's gonna be in like Black Panther 1, 2, 3, 4. It's gonna go, like that. That was so good. I'm gonna go down the list in my spoiler part probably, so I'm not gonna keep it up to here. But I'm just gonna leave my review as that movie is amazing. 9.5 out of 10. I wasn't bored at all. You know, I'm not gonna talk about characters, so I'm gonna do that in the spoiler part.
Yeah.
I loved it.
What about some of the, Batman really suffered from the critique of it not having enough action, not being a movie that really was exciting, a lot of story.
Joe and Anthony Russo, what they know how to do is give comic book lovers and people who aren't comic book lovers, they know how to make a film where it's just action-packed the whole time. I seriously wasn't bored, and I think, Scarlett Johansson, just give her what she needs to get paid. Give her a soul. Like, she is so freaking awesome, Black Widow. And then I really enjoyed also Elizabeth Olsen's character, Scarlet Witch. I didn't care for her in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
In this one, though,
too much of an impression.
Yeah, it wasn't much, and maybe that was because it was an Avengers film. But in this movie, I feel that they really just socked it to you, saying, no, Scarlet Witch isn't just some character that we have in the movie. She is. I loved her.
Yeah.
I loved this movie, bro. I don't just like. I love this movie. Batman vs Superman was good, but it wasn't great. But after great is, I love it. I love this film.
Well, to no surprise, well, actually, maybe to some surprise, I 100% agree with you. Wow, this movie is something else. Completely honest, my second viewing, right? Well, actually, this will be my third viewing. Of Captain America: Civil War, and it just kept getting better and better. It's very rare that a movie can really put you in, I mean, movies are supposed to put you in an emotional state and a feeling, but it's very rare a movie can literally transport you in time. And this movie did that. It transported me to the 8-year-old flipping through the comics, could not wait to get to the next page. I felt like I was exploring comics again. I mean, it was just such an emotional feeling, like such a joyous feeling. Brought me back to Force Awakens. Just that happy, excited, fun feeling. I mean, this is a movie you need to experience in theaters, right? Like, this is a movie you have to sit on. I mean, this is a movie that you just want. You're so happy you are in that theater experiencing this movie. It's really amazing. You know, I've said many a times, and I've gotten really tired of superhero movies. But if there's one that you're going to show me that will reel me back in to be, 100% excited to whatever they give me, this is the movie that's going to do that.
Real quick, it's funny you say that, because I was just telling Ken that you were saying that eventually superhero movies will slow down and stuff like that, and then I was just saying to Ken, if they keep on doing it like this,
if they bring what they brought to this movie, it may never be a dying breed. Now, if they could keep that consistency is a whole other story, obviously, but we're not even going to get into that, because this movie alone deserves as much respect, easily neck and neck with the best movie of the year so far.
It's better than Zootopia for me. I love Zootopia. Number 2 now.
I think that I would honestly need to watch Zootopia again, because it's been a long time, but I honestly do feel this is my favorite movie this year so far, because of just how much fun I had, because of the emotions it brought me, and because it was able to bring out that child in me. I mean, I really felt, I said in Winter Soldier that the action of that movie alone, like, had my jaw on the floor and I had to scoop it up from the dirty theater floor. Well, not dirty here at AMC Town Square, because they keep it clean. But this movie was even like 10. If you thought the action in Winter Soldier was great, it is tenfold. One of the greatest action sequences, if not in a superhero movie, but since Mad Max have I been that excited off of an action sequence. I mean, phenomenal. And to quickly say that. In fighting, in any type of thematic fighting, there's psychology. And we talked a little about this about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that each character should represent who they are while fighting, and represent their attitudes. And that is so apparent here in what is probably going to be the fight of the year, the best action sequence of the movie of the year. Every character fights differently, with a style, with their tribute. We have, of course, the huge star cameo that everyone's been waiting for him to swing into a Marvel movie, and he fights so amateurish and young, but he is so, he's learned his power, but you can tell he's still learning, still developing. I mean, we have Vision, who is just so much more of a presence rather than physically fighting and punching people. And you have Iron Man, who is just going after Cap because it's taking it more on a person. I mean, there's so much good here that it's hard to just break down every sequence without breaking down like every scene by scene. I mean, it is just a phenomenal movie. It's a lot of fun, amazing action. Easily, when people talk about comic book movies, this is what they're talking about.
100%.
I mean, I'm a Batman fan, die hard. You can't take the Batman out of me, but this is the Marvel movie that would actually make me go, oh, they brought it.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So now maybe spoilers.
Okay, spoiler section.
I'll put up a thing so it says spoilers too.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Little banner.
Yeah, little banner. Okay. So I'm gonna pause out my phone because I don't even want.
There's a lot to go over.
Yeah, there's so much to go over, and I don't want to disrespect. Okay, first off, we'll talk about Captain America.
Yes.
And let me do a little analogy too. Okay, so Batman v Superman and this movie is actually kind of very similar.
Very, very similar.
They're very similar.
They took on a very similar plot, similar theme.
And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, you shouldn't compare movies. And you gotta know, I like call myself Superman. Like I love Superman. I love Batman. I would say I like them better than any DC character or any character. I just love. But this movie, man.
But we both, without a shadow of a doubt, can agree that Civil War is by far much better than BVS. Easily.
And it's funny because they both kind of talk about their parents.
Not parents that's going on.
They both kind of talk about their parents. And I actually smirked a little bit. That's my mom. I was like, what is this? Don't say it's Martha either. Yeah. But okay, so Captain America.
I was waiting for Bucky to go. That's your mom. That's my mom too.
We could be friends.
Yeah, it's okay. No fighting.
So when Batman when Batman fought Superman, it really didn't make sense.
No.
The story did the story, but I was just like, okay, yeah. This movie, all of the reasons why the one lady says you killed my son to Iron Man, right, and then Iron Man's like, oof.
His whole perspective changes.
He's like, yeah, I did, and I did kill that guy, and then Captain America, they actually use logic, like human logic, where I'm just like, yeah, and the whole movie you're switching sides. You're like, no, yeah, but no, but, and I just. So Chris Evans, like, how did you like him?
Just to kind of comment on what you're saying is like, yeah, everyone, when you're watching that Batman vs Superman fight, you're like, why doesn't Superman just be like, hey man, they got my mom, like I need your help, I don't want to fight here, just fly up a little bit higher out of sight.
That's it.
And that's all it is just quickly, hey, listen to me real quick, I gotta tell you something. But this movie, it just feels like, and like you said, I don't want to always compare, but it's really hard not to compare like a movie that is the complete, is like the DC version of this is Batman vs Superman.
And vice versa.
Every character in Batman vs Superman is motivated to get to the next page of that script. Like that's the problem in Batman vs Superman is characters are just doing things so they can move on. Like it's not what that character necessarily would do or would say. I've told you, even since that review, me and Hsu have continued to talk about that movie mostly every time we're together because there's so many thoughts that we still have. I think that Superman is not always greatly portrayed as, as far as that character. He's not really himself in some of those moments, in some of those lines. And there's not one line or one moment or one action that Captain America does that makes me disbelieve that that's Captain America, that that's the man that wants to stand for good and be good-hearted. He's not, Superman, I'd kill you. If I wanted you dead, you'd be already. Like, that line makes me cringe because Superman would never say that. But Captain America, just being that great guy, trying to continually stop this fight and try to balance all of this weight of doing what's good and in Stark's eyes, betraying his best friend. I mean, there's so much of a balance here. And he, as much as I'm not the craziest Captain America fan as far as a character from the comics or anything, he is such a great anchor for this series, and he belongs there. I mean, he just needs to be there because he's that anchor, and he's the kind of moral compass of what we have in the movie.
Yes. Robert Downey Jr., so I always say that I don't really care for Iron Man and stuff like that, but Robert Downey Jr. is the perfect Iron Man. Everyone knows that. And in this movie, you just, the whole time I'm just watching this film, I'm just like watching everything he's saying, and I'm listening, and everything, like you're like, okay, I could be on Team Iron Man.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I could be on there. I could be on Team Iron Man. So Robert Downey Jr. did awesome. Scarlett Johansson, dude, this girl like needs a solo film, dude. Like Black Widow was so freaking good. And I love.
And she brings it in this movie.
Oh,
man.
it's so good.
Especially in the first opening action sequence. Oh man, is she? I mean, like she has shown her moments of potential, but this was the movie that was like, man, why are we not watching a movie of her by herself? She is so badass,
Yes.
and that's the only way I could describe her.
Yes, like that whole first segment was
Yeah.
just freaking unbelievable. And I love how when she turns on Black Panther,
Yep.
because she's supposed to be on Black Panther's side, and then she keeps on trying to stun him and
Yep.
stun him and stun him. And I love that because Steve Rogers will not stop. You're either gonna have to kill him or he won't stop, and she knows that. And see, okay, so when they're fighting in the airport hangar scene, number one, the beautiful abuse.
Yeah.
It's just art.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's just art.
It is the fanboy's dream of dreams. Like, it is probably the greatest superhero. Like, if you were to take that scene back in time and show the people of the comics of the early, like the 75 years ago when comics were emerging.
Oh, they will cry.
I mean, it would just be the most perfect, beautiful thing in the world. I mean, it is such a great action sequence. You know, everyone always assumes that when film is talked about as art and as beauty, that it has to be this dramatic, emotional film. I could hang that scene on my wall and look at it for days. You know, I mean, it is that good. It is that artful. I mean, there's not a thing in there that's wasted. There's not a moment or character that is just trash. Every character has a purpose and has a motive. And I'll let you get back to what you were saying.
No. Yeah. So Scarlett Johansson, though,
Yes.
her character is just Black Widow. She just does it so. She does this so well, and even she flips sides for a minute,
Yep.
or not for a minute, but during the airport hangar scene, where at the end of it, in the trailers, I saw Jeremy Renner basically, are we still gonna be friends? And
Yeah.
depends on how hard you meet.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I thought, oh god, this is gonna be so lame because they're
So
friends.
tacky, yeah.
And the entire time everyone's fighting, it's not lame.
Yeah.
And the reason why, and it makes so much, it fits so well because Team Cap is just trying to get to their plane
Yep.
and leave. And then the other side's like, we just can't let you
Yeah.
do that. And that's why they're fighting. And then
So they're going to do everything necessary to stop the other
Yes.
team, but doing their best of not really,
Yeah.
causing that damage, and that's there. And even though there's a scene when one of the characters is being called out for pulling his punches, it's an amazing scene because you believe it, but you understand that he's also, he's also not dilly-dallying. Like, they are trying to do it there. And, to go back to the Black Panther comment real quick, where you're saying how she turns and she stops him and he keeps moving. Like, that's a reoccurring theme in this movie, and I think that's, again, why I love this movie so much, is that Captain America, Steve Rogers, will not stop, right? We have Iron Man, who at the end of the movie, when he is after Bucky, Captain says he will not stop. And same thing with Black Panther. All of these characters are so determined, and we have their goals, and we understand each of their goals, whether it's given to us at the beginning of the movie or the end of the movie, and each character is dedicated and does everything that we believe them to do to get to that goal. And I think that's what BVS fails. It's just like the goal changes. It's just we're doing what we can do to get to the next scene, where every character has a mission and they're going to do it no matter who is in their way. And that's why, like, each character is so dedicated, so determined to accomplish their goal. It just really makes these characters come to life even more.
Winter Soldier,
Yes.
he was awesome.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, that's all I can say. Like,
He's just
he was
great.
Sebastian Stan was so good.
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
so good.
And just, he obviously got into, I think he, above everyone, was probably, along with another character I'm sure we'll get into, is in the best action sequences. Like, his hand-to-hand combat, his sequences are just so stunning and so amazing. And obviously because of there's a really great sequence in the staircase with him and Captain America, and just how they're throwing...
When they're going at each other.
Oh, man. And then, of course, Black Panther, who I'm sure we're going to get into, I
Yep.
think they have, like, the greatest hand-to-hand combat scenes in the whole entire film.
And the way they utilize his shield, seriously, it's just
everyone's powers are utilized so
Yeah.
smartly and so
Oh,
creatively.
Scarlet Witch. We'll get to
There's
that.
so many times you're just like, oh man, I would never think for them to do that. When we were just talking or joking about the other day, like how there's that joke where Superman never uses his heat ray vision unless he needs to heat up some porridge or something. Like he doesn't. But these filmmakers are really trying to come up with creative ways to use those powers to their advantage to really like make these characters more interesting than we've seen them already become. I mean, these characters have been around for, you know, some of these characters 60, 70 years, and we want to see things differently, and these filmmakers are doing that, and Marvel Studios is bringing that to us, and that's, you know, really the love of comic book and these characters is visible there where it's not visible in BVS.
Yeah, and how depressing is it that Superman and Batman's been around for 75 years, and you got to know I love Batman and Superman. It's
and
not,
you know all about Batman.
I'm not bad mouthing. Yeah. It's just that there's 75 years of history yet, and these other characters aren't as old, and so it's not lack of material, and it's just literally purely the direction of the film and the writing of the film,
and the care of characters, which is with the writing. It's just the care of the characters and really wanting to stay true to them. I get that it's an adaptation, you want to change things up, but then don't try to sell us like these are the characters that we grew up with. Tell us that they're different, make them different. Where this movie, I think, took those characters, expanded them, made them grow, made them different, but at the same time kept that integrity where every fan in there was happy to see their favorite superhero. Everyone's favorite superhero was in this movie. If you're a Marvel fan, people love Spider-Man, people love Black Panther, people, I mean, well, if they don't love Black Panther now, they do now. You know, Captain, Iron Man, and it gives them all their reason to like validate why they love them, and I think that's amazing.
Anthony Mackie as Falcon.
Great.
Fantastic.
Great in his role. Very, you know, great in his role, and I think one of his key moments is kind of at that tail end of that fight when, you know, it really kind of, you know, the moment when Don Cheadle is shot down and Mackie goes to save him. I mean, that really speaks to his character, and again, you know, just the integrity of that character.
Yeah, and I love that scene because as Don Cheadle's falling and Iron Man and Falcon are going after it, it's because, again, they're not enemies, and they know that. They know that they're not enemies, and they're just like, oh my god. Cause it's funny because they're fighting each other, but they don't want anyone to die either.
It's a movie that really focuses on perspective. Everyone and every character in this film has a different perspective. Even the film's villain, which I'm sure we'll get into, has a different perspective, but the movie takes its time to make you see everyone's perspective. As you said, you could go, oh, I totally agree with Cap. Oh, no, you know what? I could actually see Iron Man's point. This character, this villain, has a perspective, and it makes total sense. And you're like, wow, this guy actually has an amazing logic behind the whole thing. Is it right? Probably not, but I understand it. And every character is like that. Black Panther's vengeance, Bucky and Cap, you know, Cap standing up to Iron Man to protect Bucky. Everything makes sense. You know, people's loyalty, Scarlett Johansson's loyalty to Cap, it's there, and it's just all visible. And those perspectives and understanding, again, each character's choice is just what makes this movie so powerful and so strong.
Love it.
I mean, it's, guys, it's so amazing.
Don Cheadle.
Great.
Yeah, loved it. He's looking extra thin, though.
He was looking pretty thin.
Jesus.
Yeah. You know, he's a character that really kind of really reminds us how important all these characters are to us when his moment really kind of happens. And I'm glad it doesn't, you know,
there was a line before though that alluded that someone's gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought right when I heard that, I was like, oh, someone's gonna die.
Yeah.
And then when I saw Don Cheadle,
and in the trailer, it kind of makes you even think it's gonna be him because they tease him on the ground. And but then when you see it, you're like, oh, there's no way he survived that.
Yeah. Did you like it that they said he lived?
I mean, to be honest, like that's what really amazed me is because, like, to me, you kill off a character. You got to do that just because it really kind of helps emotions in a movie. But to me, when I saw him fall, even though I don't think anyone's like, oh, Don Cheadle's my favorite, you know, War Machine's my guy. Like, I was really upset. Yeah, I was really upset though. Like, I was like, no, please don't let him die, because not only, you know, he's just a good character, and all these characters are really great to be around. I really didn't want to see how that would hurt Iron Man. And again, that just speaks to the story of how invested I am in these people. Like, I didn't want to see Captain America's Iron Man's best friend die. Like, I didn't want to see that happen to him, and that just really speaks to how much I care about these characters. And if you would have asked me before, I would have said something totally different.
Yeah, because I know if you would ask me that before I saw this movie, I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, me neither.
But again, the writing of this movie is so good. Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. It's good because I don't really care I don't have a problem with Hawkeye, but he was just always a secondary character. But again, in this movie, they don't do that.
Nope.
They give each character its moment where you are invested in these characters.
And him and Scarlett Johansson's chemistry really plays an important role in that one sequence. Yeah. But I mean, just him overall and being that kind of witty, he takes more of the comedic role in this film. And I mean, it's great. I mean, he plays in this world, of Vision, Captain America, Iron Man, Black Panther, Spider-Man, all these characters are these really large people. This is more of a fairly normal person who could really still stand to that to attest to that, and I think that's amazing. Like for me to be interested in wanting to see him and see what he could do when you have these supernatural human beings here, or enhanced humans as they call them in the movie. I think it's pretty awesome.
Love it. Chadwick Boseman.
Okay, hands down, best character of the movie.
Yes.
And
For
you know,
me too.
I've seen the Ultimate Avengers animated series, you know, and it was good. You know, I mean, Black Panther's an okay, but this movie brings him to a whole other level. His character as a whole is such a phenomenal, depthful character. I mean, every line, it seems like every line he says could be a line that you quote, that you just like, you're like, ooh, you know, you just got to give that oomph to him, like, move or I will move you. You know, every line is just so awesome, and he has such determination. And that's like before we even suit up. When we suit up, he easily delivers the best action in the movie. I mean, his hand-to-hand combat is so phenomenal. And you know, what's one of my favorite sequences in the movie is the scene that the soldier version of Bucky is activated, and he's just attacking everyone. He's the only one that could really like go hand to hand with them and
without
actually
even the
hit
suit
them.
on.
Yeah, without even the suit on. You know, Iron Man's able to kind of diverge him, but he gets thrown out. You know, Scarlet Jo gets, you know, she could. They all fight him, but they all get taken down. This guy just kicks him and like doesn't even need the suit. That's how badass this guy is. Like just literally looks badass in the. I mean, easily my favorite character in the movie. If you when we were, I even think we said this on film. Black Panther movie. Yeah, cool. Maybe a great way to introduce the character. But now that's the movie that I cannot wait for.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's all about introduction, right? And the opening, not the opening scene of the movie, but the opening scene of him basically where he jumps off the building, uses his nails to slide down. I was just like, oh, okay, you're gonna bring in this guy this way? Yeah. Okay, this is gonna be.
And you know what's funny is that was the first look we got of Black Panther. You know, we saw the guy on the wires, and he was kind of, and you were like, oh, I guess that's cool.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, and then you see it, and you're just like, wow, like this guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he brought it, and I mean, the look of his costume. I mean, like, I don't want to go in this much detail because I would for everybody, but I mean, everything about him is perfect. I loved it.
I love how the bullets, his entire suit's made out of vibranium. Thank you. And I love how the bullets jump off him. Love it.
Yeah, but I also like that it's not that protection that makes him be that way.
No.
And I think that's again, you know, I keep
the
going back
bullets are afraid of him.
Yeah, you know, exactly. Like it's not like, oh, I wear this suit, I could be brave now. It, like I said, he goes head to head with Bucky in full activation mode, bear, and it's just like, man. And then I love how everyone refers him to Your Highness. I mean, it's true, and I'm so glad. Like, it's just so cool to kind of see that character work, because I don't think that would have been one that I would think would be memorable to me. Like, if you would walk down and say, who was your favorite, I don't think I would have ever said Black Panther, but I'm pumped, and they did a perfect job. And Chadwick Boseman, who's, you know, was good in 42 and the few other films that we've seen him in, definitely has that potential of being a great actor. But wow, he's
literally about to go from
0 to 100,
a movie star to.
Yeah. No, he's about to be a movie star.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sorry. He's about to go to be like a famous person
to be an actor. Yeah. To being a celebrity. I mean, there's not. I think that, and you know,
he will never have a normal life. Never.
Oh man, he was just so good, and I'm sure he'll get, like I said, best hand-to-hand combat. And then, you know, the emotional turn that he goes through and kind of realizes this vengeance that's been driving him in that last sequence when he's putting the chokehold on the villain of the film. I mean, it's just
Baron Zemo.
Baron Zemo, thank you. And you're just like, wow. Like, I mean, just him holding him and saying, and he literally just says, justice isn't done with you, or the living isn't finished with you yet. Oh my God, he's just, every line, every action, he's the guy to watch.
Yeah, he couldn't just kill himself.
Yeah, no.
We'll get to that. Paul Bettany as Vision was fine for me.
Yeah, I really loved it. I think Vision was like the one thing I talked highly about leaving Age of Ultron. And he's great in this movie. And he has, I mean, my favorite scene with Vision isn't a pro-Vision scene. It's actually Vision being handled by Scarlet Witch. I think that's like one of the coolest scenes ever. But yeah, great. Your thoughts?
Again, Age of Ultron let me down so much, so I was like, okay, whatever. But in this movie, I was like, okay, now I like him. And in the comics, I do know though that him and Scarlet Witch had like the relationship. Yeah. And so I like how they're not saying that they're in a relationship,
but they allude to it.
But they're alluding that there's something going on between these two. And he was like, yeah, I enjoyed it.
And like, it's very, like, they allude to it in that one scene, and then the other scene happens where she
in the helicopter or the plane scene where they're about that one.
Well, no. Like there's the scene when he's making her the food and he's kind of like holding her, but then it's the scene where she escapes and she literally just pushes him down to the earth. Like that's just like, oh
like,
man,
100 floors later, or whatever.
And you know, and then you know what was so great about that is that because of that relationship, you wonder like, is Vision doing this because he can't overpower her, or because he's not going to?
Because he won't.
Yeah, and I think that's like because that wonder. It really even
and then Iron Man even said you were distracted. I knew you could be distracted. He's like, neither did I. So
like even that alluding, and it's not like a thing that you could really like hear. It's not like, oh, that's for sure. But it makes you wonder, and that's good storytelling.
Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch,
we kind of
Wanda. We did, but I gotta say this again. That again, I didn't care for her, but now I love Elizabeth Olsen, and I feel so. And I'm proud of Elizabeth Olsen because, you know, when you're behind, when your two older sisters are billionaires, and your two older sisters are some of the most famous people on the planet. Everyone knows Full House, Michelle, and then you have to be in that shadow. And for her to get out here, and now she has her own thing, and she's about to take her career to the next level. I loved it. I loved how she was the one that literally saved everyone in Team Cap right before they're about to get hit hard. She came in with, and it doesn't look stupid at all. And the way that her fireball, or whatever you want to call it, the way she does it, I think it just looks so awesome.
And you know, like you said, it was really interesting to see how her such a lack of presence in Age of Ultron, but in this movie she's one of the actually like most important characters, because she's kind of the spark of this huge setback. And you know, we can see that, like we see that confliction in her. We see her kind of fearful, like again in that fight sequence we see her start to use these superpowers more and more. She does this thing, it causes a horrible reaction. She's afraid to leave, she's afraid to be herself, and then she gets in this fight. We see her use her powers more and more, and then eventually she actually uses her powers to actually be one of the most biggest parts in that airport scene by holding that building up so they can move. And it's just seeing her kind of get like allowing herself to use those powers again, which is like, oh man, that's such what that character would do.
Yes, I loved it. Paul Rudd. I knew that there was gonna be a Giant Man only because the Pop Toys, when the Pop Toys came out, you know, months and months before the movie came out, there was a Giant Man, and then all of my news sites told me, and I was like, oh damn it, I wish I didn't know that.
I didn't. Know
that was awesome.
That came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, I knew that unfortunately, but it was awesome.
Yeah, and you know, I think like watching Ant-Man, which is a movie that I really enjoyed. And you're like, oh, it's cool, but he's kind of like a branch off. He doesn't feel like he has that weight to be like to go head to head with these characters. And then you're just like, wow, he is such the perfect fit in this puzzle because he's funny, he's so charming. Like you just love him because of how funny he is and the way he treats these characters. The comedy is a blessing because, you know, all these characters, you know, Vision is so serious, and you know, all these other characters who have to continually go back and forth. I mean, you have Iron Man, who of course is just witty and funny, but when you have someone who, Paul Rudd, coming in there and kind of playing that role where, you know, even the superhero, the superpowers are itself kind of funny, and like, you know, it's kind of like, oh, you could just shrink like an ant. Like it's very funny, and he has superpowers. You know, he really plays that so well, and like, of course, his presence in this movie is just great. He knows how to really play that role well. Yep,
loved it. And then let's just wrap it up basically with let's talk about the last two. Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Tom Holland.
Best handling of Spider-Man yet. I mean, after you tell me Spider-Man 3, you know, shame on me, you know, shame on, you know, whatever the saying is, but third time is a charm because he is handled so perfectly, and the introduction is what makes it. We just see Peter Parker. He's this kid in Queens. He's awkward. He's weird. We see the introduction of him with Aunt May, and you're just like, man, what is wrong with this kid? And
the jokes, and it was weird because they kept on pressing that Marissa Tomei is hot.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
And she does plenty of, oh, you know, we all come in different shapes and sizes because we've already seen 3 different Aunt Mays. You know, she says all these lines that talk about how she just is like the third Aunt May, which is great. And it doesn't take you out of the movie because it's like, oh, this is really fun. But I mean, the just Tom Holland, not even in Spidey suit yet, is just, you're like, that's Peter Parker.
He looks actually like a younger Tobey Maguire.
Kind of, like, yeah. I mean, but he just looks like, you're just like, wow, that's the awkward teenager that belongs in, that goes dumpster diving, builds things, thinks he's really, you know, just going through high school struggling. I could see that all from just the small amount of time we have with him. And the moment it says Queens on the screen, I mean, I get that smile on my face because you know exactly where Stark's going.
Oh, it's funny too because we're literally jumping all over the world in this movie.
Over the world.
And not one part what did I feel? Wait, what's going on in everything?
Everything is concise and makes sense, and it's very upfront. And you just and like you look at BVS where like you're thinking about certain plot lines, you're like, wait, what? And this movie is just, even though it is really big, and granted I have seen the movie now 3 times, so it is a lot easier. But I mean, even first time.
Well, even my first time right now, nothing did make sense.
You're like,
nothing.
It all makes sense, and you'll catch more time around. You'll see a little bit more of like the illusions and things like that. But it's still very like, I totally understand what happened here.
Last but not least, let's talk about the Baron Zemo character real quick.
Okay, but before Spider-Man, you didn't say about how you felt about him.
Oh, it was amazing. The after credit scene is the after credit scene is back to Spider-Man.
Yep.
And Spider-Man will return, and it's so cool to see. And then now they already announced in Spider-Man: Homecoming, Robert Downey Jr. will be making an appearance in that one.
Yep.
It's just gonna be so cool that they're now able to intertwine these characters, and it's just so exciting to.
It's really amazing to see the 2 Sony versions of Spider-Man, and then just see Marvel take 20 minutes, 15,
and slap everybody.
and just make it perfect. They just said, well, let's just tweak this, and boom, it's like, oh my god, what? Why? Like I could just see Sony executives going, why didn't we see this?
Yeah, I know.
Before,
like, why that makes sense.
And you know, the moment we hear on the road, and we just get that moment, and like I said, Spidey fights like Spider-Man should. He's learning his powers. He's developing. He's a kid. He makes stupid mistakes. He gets distracted. He gets, oh wow, this is cool. Oh wow, I mean, it's just everything about him is so believable. And not only Spider-Man, but every character fights like how they should, psychologically speaking.
It's crazy too because Spider-Man was supposed to be the big reveal of this movie and the big part of this film.
Yeah.
But for me, Black Panther just stole it. Stole the whole thing.
I mean, I'm excited.
And I love Spider-Man, but Black Panther just.
It was like
killed it.
It was like you're going to this amazing restaurant. I know I always do the restaurant analogies. I don't know why, but like you're going to this amazing restaurant and you hear that they have the best dessert in the world, right? And you order this steak and you're like, oh, it should be good, and it's the best steak that you could ever eat, and the dessert is great, but you're talking about the steak the entire time. It just comes out of nowhere, and I think that's why Black Panther hands down. But yeah, this is where the conversation will get interesting, I think.
Yes, so Baron Zemo, this bad guy of Captain America Civil War wasn't like a bad guy that is fighting the characters. He was just a master manipulator thinking of the ideas. And for me, it actually made sense. And I'm not going to dwell on Batman vs Superman except for this one part I'm going to say is Lex Luthor didn't. It was just wild.
So sporadic.
Yeah, it was just wild.
And now, like, we hear that the whole dark side thing that he was possessed, and it's just like that doesn't matter if that's your argument. The fact that it didn't make sense in the movie and it wasn't believable to us, you failed.
Yes.
Like that it doesn't matter if it's beyond our understanding. As if I watch that movie and only that movie, it needs to work.
Yeah, because they're saying, oh, well, if you watch the director's cut,
you're
not supposed. I'm not supposed to have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I feel bad for Zack Snyder if that's in fact what he wanted to do, but irrelevant, not my fault, not our problem.
But in Captain America: Civil War for Baron Zemo, it wasn't to me, this was probably the best bad guy because all the other ones were always just very throwaway, just really the things I felt didn't matter. But this one, even though he gets captured at the end and they didn't have to kill him, finally they
kept him alive.
Yeah, finally they don't have to. I can't stand any movie where the bad guy always has to die in the first movie. It's like, okay, well there goes that one. But in this one, I love it at the end. He's like,
even Marvel has been guilty of that, killing off these characters.
Yes.
DC, I mean, why kill them off? Put them in jail. We all believe it. We all read comics. They always go to jail and come out. And I was really glad to see him alive. But I also think it was really good that he's not a very strong present superhero, like villain. Like we know he's up to something. We know he's like kind of the driving force behind all of this. But it never takes away from the Captain America Iron Man fight. And I think that's what was really good about him not having too much of a strong presence.
I love the ending where the bad guy he's in Baron Zemo's in jail and then the guy goes, whoever the guy's name was, he goes,
Martin Freeman, the Hotman.
Martin Freeman, yeah, he's like, haha, we got you, and he's like,
test me.
And then he's like, did you? Or you didn't win, didn't I? Or I love that because everything he wanted to happen He did win.
Yep.
And in reality, the bad guy won in this movie.
Yep. And you know, I think he's not the traditional Baron Zemo that we've kind of all come to know. I don't really remember too much of Baron. You know, I need to go refresh my memory of what his character is like. But I think that it's a big tease. Like, there's more to come of that character. Obviously, that's the reason why we kept him alive. But like you said, I mean, his presence is needed, but it's so subtle. And it just works because that moment where you, like, everything comes together and you realize, like, oh, was his plan. This is what he wants to do. And he's talking to Black Panther. You're just like, oh my God, like, it all makes sense. Like, BVS, like, DC, take notes. Warner Brothers, get out your notepads because you need to take as many notes as you can from this movie.
You know, it's crazy too because a lot of times people feel that it's the lack of money is the reason why they can't accomplish something, whether it's business, whether it's whatever. And Disney has a lot of money. Warner Brothers has a lot of money, so the money is not the issue. And this, for me, and again, I keep on saying I'm not going to harp on it, but I guess I have to, that it has nothing to do with money. It's just strictly the directors, the direction they're going to take this film, and whoever's writing this movie, story, script, screenplay, whatever, and where they take these characters. And Captain America Civil War was a perfect film. It was so perfect.
Honestly, I couldn't disagree with you at all. I mean, it's really about story and you know, and granted, the performances in this movie weren't I mean, there weren't like amazing performances, but it's a movie that is done by direction and story. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is actually really quite good in this movie. He has a lot of weight on him in this movie, and it's very apparent through the entire time. Don't really expect your witty, smart Alex Iron Man because it's not there. I mean, he has his few moments, but it's not there a lot, and you could tell that weight's just on him. But this is a movie that's driven by a great story, characters that were well written, that are rounded, that each of them have a motivation, each of them have a goal. You know, Morgan Freeman, you know, has always said, talking to extras, he walked up, there's a famous story where he walks up to a guy on set and he goes, so where are you going? And he goes, oh, the director told me to go over there. He goes, no, but where are you going? And you know, that the story goes on, but it basically alludes to him that every character needs to know where they'd be going if this scene wasn't happening. And it felt like every superhero and every character in this movie had a purpose, had their own story, they knew where they had to go, and none of them I ever doubted that were just there for the convenience of being there.
Love it. Well, let's wrap up this video because we've been going on a while.
Yeah. Amazing.
Do you know how many stars you're giving this movie?
We gave this movie a 4 out of 4 stars. And where Batman BVS and multiple other movies where I've had a change and fluctuation in my belief with ratings, this movie has stayed at a consistent 4 out of 4 all 3 times.
That's crazy. So I'm not sure exactly. I know it's my favorite Marvel film of all time.
Mine as well.
It's teeter totter right now my favorite comic book film of all time.
Yeah.
It's definitely at a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. It was just, that movie was fan freaking tastic. I loved it. You need to watch this movie in a full theater with comic book nerdy, geeky people screaming and cheering as Spider-Man makes his appearance, as Black Panther makes his appearance. You need to be in that theater with the crazy hoodlums like us.
Yeah, and like you said, it freaking tastic because it is for the fans, it's for the people. It's a movie that, you know, BVS says, oh, it's not for the critics, it's for the fans, which is just totally their backup thing because even the fans didn't like that movie.
Yeah.
Fans, critics are gonna love this movie. 94% at this moment.
I'm sure it's going to stay in 90.
It's going to stay in the 90 range.
I'm sure it's going to.
Phenomenal movie, and I mean, this movie was made for everyone, and it's funny. And kids, I had a very young, I had a 5-6-year-old kid behind me in the entire time in my second screening, and he just loved it. And I mean, there's some really intense moments and there's some really emotional moments, but it's a lot of fun and there's great action. I mean, it literally is just this great harmonious feeling of everything you'd want out of a superhero movie. Made me a 7-year-old kid again, just enjoying comics.
I love it. So watch the film. We got to end this.
Yes.
ChaseTheCinema.com
/Civil War, and is also known as the Film Lovers website.